Good day and welcome to ScreenHour with me, Mikey.
And with me, Kieran.
So we're going to do the big film which is out at the moment, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Wakanda Forever!
Wakanda Forever! Yeah, we're going to go, as usual, have a general overview. Then we go into what we really liked, what we disliked, and then we're going to spoiler talk.
Yeah.
And give it our reviews if you like, of like our rating.
Yeah. Well, of Mikey's rating.
Well, my rating, yeah. My pattern big renter rating.
I think off the bat, for me, it's better than the first one. I wasn't completely sold on the first one. I felt there was a lot of corners cut with different things. Don't get me wrong, it was a brilliant film and it's a great concept. And I was, it was nice to see, an entirely black cast apart from, the Tolkien boys or the token white boys. But that was, I didn't have a problem with that. It was just more so the story for me in the way that it was like Killmonger was great. Like Michael B. Killmonger was like a great villain. But I just felt like the editing and sort of the CGI and everything, it just didn't transpose of how good the actual film could have been. Whereas this one, it definitely made that extra step. Don't get me wrong, there's still areas where it looked ropey as shit with the CGI. But I definitely felt it was a better, more rounded script.
It's interesting you say that because I disagree. I think if it was just a random film, like a random superhero film, it would stand on its own legs more. But because of, well, let's address the elephant in the room really, in the sense that Chadwick's death has a big impact on the film, like a hell of a big impact. But I think, as bad as it sounds, the film really takes in its stride. It's one of its biggest strengths is how it deals with grief.
Yeah, it doesn't ride on his death too much. You have a good sort of 10 minutes at the beginning, 10 minutes at the end, and then there's just a little bit here and there. But the whole film isn't all about, it's not they're not riding all the emotion on Chadwick. That being said, all of the emotive parts for me were to do with Chadwick.
Yeah, it is an emotional film. It's not like mega upbeat, but it has some good funny moments. But the thing, what made me much prefer the first one, is not so much Chadwick himself because he's really good at it, but the way he introduces Killmonger, and Killmonger, to be fair, me and Kieran both have a soft spot for Michael B. Jordan. We think he's great, but Namor in himself, and we're going to get into this, is great. I like him as a villain,
but he's no Killmonger.
He's not as charming. Killmonger's motivations for being a villain, it makes so much sense. And he's charming, even though he's the badass, the villain, he's the dick. He even towards the end of spoilers for the film which came out in 2017, but he towards the end of the first film, there's a civil war. Some even the Wakandas agree with him. Okoye's partner, played by Daniel Okule, turns. He agrees with Michael B. Jordan's sentiment. So I think that's one thing, but that doesn't mean I disagree. I don't like Wakanda Forever. I do like it quite a lot, and off the bat, I would recommend it.
Yeah.
To go watch it in the cinema.
It is stunningly beautiful. There's a lot of Neymar's. What was it? It's not Neymar, is it? What's his character called?
Namor.
Yeah, Neymar's a footballer. Namor.
But you can pronounce it that way, apparently. To be fair, you are right.
But he's his world, his underwater city, is beautiful. The way the CGI and stuff was done for that was really amazing just to witness and experience. And it reminded me of a particular mission on Horizon Forbidden West in Las Vegas. When you have to go under the water and
you have to go under the water. Yeah,
the Poseidon mission storyline. It reminded me of that, of just how it's all the neon lights, isn't it, under the water that makes everything pop and look amazing. But I really sort of enjoyed that aspect, and that's sort of one of the reasons you want to watch it in the cinema, for the big sort of screen to see that. Because I went to go see it with my brother, and we both said for us, the first sort of 20 minutes of the film is a masterpiece. Like, it's so well done, so well handled, so like mature in its approach of how it comes across, of how it deals with the loss of Chadwick, but then also the loss of T'Challa, and how they sort of create that sort of sequence at the beginning. And then you got the funeral and the dancing and the singing. Like, it is beautiful. So the first sort of 20 minutes are like incredible. That's something you should really try and see in the cinema if you can. But it was just mesmerizing watching that bit.
The way they handle his death, both his character and his, in real life, the actor himself, and for all accounts, for what it's worth, he seemed like a lovely bloke. Every account you read up about him or hear, every interview, he seemed lovely. It's a bit of it's a bit of a heartbreaking issue there. But Angela Bassett's character, the Queen, there's a lot of good.
Oh, you cut out again.
There's a lot of good performances in the film, but I feel like she carries it on her back.
Yeah, the bit when she says, "Have I not sacrificed everything?" That bit hit me so hard. That bit was fucking sick. Like it was just the emotion, the power in her voice. I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah, so I 100% agree with that. She is absolutely great. I know what you mean about the rip-off Atlanta. I can't remember its name. Concard. It's not Concordia. It begins with a K.
Something like that, isn't it?
Calcon or Calticoon or something like.
It's Talcon or something.
That's it. I'm butchering the Mayan name for it, but it's the problem there. And apart from it looking beautiful, you don't really connect with anybody there.
No, because you don't meet anyone.
You don't meet anybody. And you don't see you do see some younger families in it when it's just this lovely establishing shop, but there's no real you don't see kids playing, or you don't see an a lantern pub per se. I don't know. You don't see real people.
Yeah.
There. But the way it builds on what I do like, and in this era now of superhero films been going for 30 years lately, is Namor's origin is touched on really well. It's not rushed, and it's quite heartfelt in itself. So I'd like that, and I really enjoyed his portrayal of him, because in the comics, he's typically a bit of a dick. Nobody really likes him.
No.
And he's a bit more. You can understand where he's coming from a bit more in this.
Yeah, you can definitely understand his plight. You can understand why he's sort of pissed off and wants to attack Wakanda for their reserves and whatever. And you can understand it, but for me, the first time I saw Namor, I literally was like, why has he got wings on his ankles? That's fucking stupid.
Yeah, so in the comics, he wears literally Speedos back in the day. And to be fair, he came out in the 60s. He was he's like an OG kind of character, but he looked even dumber. He had the widow's peak hair, and his wings were more proper Hermes wings. Proper,
I know the ones
wings
are really elongated, sort of
yeah.
or whatever.
So it looked worse, but I think they've done a really good job of making him not look real, because you don't look, but making him more intimidating, less of a joke. But like you say, I suppose if there was to get rid of his wings on his ankles, people would be like, well, he's not Namor, he's missing
yeah, he's missing a crucial detail of who he is. Yeah, but it just for me, as a villain, as soon as I see that, if I was being attacked by a guy with wings on his ankles, I wouldn't take him seriously.
Yeah, exactly. But as you say, it's not. If they didn't have that, I suppose it'd be like having Superman, and he wouldn't be red and white. He'd just be.
Yeah, I know. I totally know what you mean. That's his defining feature of who he is.
Yeah.
And another thing that sort of immediately I was like, ugh, was when they started getting attacked by the fucking people from Avatar. you know, I was like, oh, this is. Ironically enough, I literally before the film started, there was a trailer for Avatar: The Way of the Water.
Yeah, for mine as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, literally, it was like Avatar was already kind of on my mind, and I saw blue people in the ocean. I was like, oh, it's Avatar. Right. And then I couldn't properly like take them seriously after that because I just kept seeing Avatar and a guy with wings on his feet. Like, yeah.
I don't
That's
know. To be fair, you could argue as always. You know, poor, not very professional. But I don't know even in the comics that they are blue when they come out. Because if it was me, and unless they are blue in the comics, I wouldn't make them. Because as you say, the tribal look of them and the fact that they're blue, the comparison to, I don't know what they're called in actual Avatar, like the Pandorians.
yeah.
But it's very easy to make. You won't be silly.
I mean, it makes sense that you go blue under the water because there's a lack of like humans. We go blue because of a lack of oxygen. So as in the ocean, you know, obviously they still got oxygen. Like fish and stuff still breathe oxygen, but it's the way they filter it through the water. So like it makes sense that they're blue, but it was just, you know, it was like a culture shock as such.
If you remember, they're not, when you, for that bit where they have the lovely shot and it's establishing, when they go to the like rip off Atlantis, they aren't blue when they're underwater.
No.
So like you say, it's not explained. Yeah, he's like a hybrid. He's like half human, half.
Yeah.
Because he was, but like his mom was pregnant when they took.
Yeah.
The drug or the plant or whatever. But that's another. This is a very slight spoiler, but that's another thing they don't like. They touch on, but also like, it's weird. They say he's a mutant, but whether it's because they don't want to blow their load too early by talking about X-Men when they haven't really had their own film, they say he's a mutant. But then in his origin story, they talk about everybody got their powers through the blue glowing plant, the jellyfish rip-off.
But that is kind of a mutant is someone that was normal and then they get enhanced.
It's not that. A mutant is you have your gene from birth. That's a mutant.
Oh, a mutant, yeah, a mutant gene. Well, technically, it was when he was born, technically.
I suppose, yeah, technically, he had his...
Like, his mom did the drug and then he was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a weird thing they stuck on. So, as we say, we haven't really touched on the plot, really, but the film is set mostly a year after T'Challa's death. And after the wake of that, they're trying to show their own strength, even though they haven't got a Black Panther. They're showing, like, you know, we're still a powerful country, and everybody's trying to nick their vibranium, which is obviously the only metal and precious resource which is you can only get from Wakanda. So people are attacking them to try and get that.
Yeah. Like that bit with the French attacking them, and then they take them to the...
Great. The UN scene is great.
But it was good, but at the same time, it was like, well, that's clearly an act of war. Why is no one doing anything about that?
Oh, yeah, because they're saying they're mercenaries, but it's very blatant they're French.
Yeah. And I didn't get, because Lake Bell, who was, like, she was one of the women on, like, the ocean platform, or whatever you want to call it, she's, like, running away, and she's trying to get to the helicopter when the Avatar people are attacking her, right? She starts shooting at one, right? And he just sort of, like, absorbs the bullets like a badass bastard. And then she starts killing other ones. And I'm like, huh? Like, either you can shoot them or you can't shoot them. It didn't. That bit didn't quite make sense to me.
Yeah, exactly. But as I say, they're going for the resources, and inadvertently, while looking for vibranium, Wakandans, well, the Atlantis people. I can't pronounce their name. Was it? What did we say? Should we say
like
Namor's
people? Or something?
Talcons. I think that's wrong. We're close. They're awoken, they're disturbed, and they're pissed off. And Namor has the Wakandans to blame, and that's how the story unfolds from there. We've slightly spoiled it just by Kieran saying what happens from there, but that's like a very early on scene for what it's worth.
Yeah, like there's like the spoiler is who is Black Panther. That's the big spoiler.
That is the big spoiler, and there's a lot more scene specifics, but it's the biggest problem I have with it is a big spoiler, so I'll go into that.
Yeah, I'm ready to go into spoilers, mate, because we can't talk too much more without spoiling.
Before we get into spoilers, I recommend seeing the film. It has a lot of good action beats. If you fancy going to the cinema to watch a good superhero film, a good action film, that ticks the box. It's not a MCU film in the sense that obviously it's set in the MCU, but don't go in expecting to see every Tom, Dick, and Harry from the Avengers in it.
That's a good point, actually. We have T'Challa's death. We have T'Challa's funeral, but not a single Avengers there.
Yeah, I was reading up on that, listening to somebody talk about that, and I was like, they bring up a good point, but I'd feel like they would have had their separate Avengers would have had their separate funeral because like the Wakandans are very to themselves and like very tribal.
Yeah, that's a good way to get out of it, I guess.
Only up until recently they've announced that they're like a nation who wants to be like part of everybody with the UN and such. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. You thought they would have maybe they mention it in another something else and say they had their own funeral. But again, I think that's its strength to a degree. It's pretty emotional. It's pretty fun in some parts, I'd say. It introduces, this is no secret, Riri Williams as Ironheart, who's a fun character in herself. Could have had some more scenes, in my opinion, but she's good. And it's, as I said, like, I appreciate the irony of two white blokes saying this, but it's refreshing to see a mostly all black cast.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's if you're gonna go see any superhero film at the moment, it's better than Black Adam.
Yeah,
Black Adam's not totally crap, but yeah.
I haven't seen Black Adam to the point where I've been rather busy recently, and if I was going to see one film in the cinema, whether it would be the general reception on the internet or whether it be my close friend Kieran suggesting not to, that's why I haven't seen Black Adam. But there we are. To go into full spoilers, you've had your spoiler warning now. Shuri, the whole film points towards Shuri being Black Panther, but she has a good emotional arc. She's a great actress, and the story beats she goes through are good, but practically it makes no sense for her to be a warrior.
So I thought it would either be Lupita Nyong'o or Okoye. I can never remember Lupita Nyong'o's character's name.
I'm in the exact same boat, but
it was either going to be Lupita Nyong'o or Okoye as Black Panther for me. But then I thought Lupita Nyong'o's not in the film enough to warrant being Black Panther, so I thought it could be Okoye, right? But then I was like, but it's most likely going to be Shuri, because in all fairness to Letitia Wright, she carries the film really well. She wasn't expected to have to do this. She was meant to be, like a secondary character, like a supporting character for Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther. And, due to seriously unfortunate circumstances, that's changed. But she's done a great job on her own, if you get me.
Yeah, when I say practically it makes no sense, I do agree with what you just said.
Yeah.
Her acting is golden. Her relationship, and very strained one at that, obviously, with Namor, is gold. Her being a mentor to Riri Williams is good. Their friendship is good. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I think her reaction to it is good, but I don't think we really need Angela Bassett's character, the Queen, to die.
No, I thought that was a bit unnecessary, but it was more of I think it was a purpose to push her to seem like she was going to do the dirty and kill Namor.
Yeah, I felt like that was a cliche for the hero character for someone very close for them to get hurt gravely or for them to die, and then for them to be angry. And we've seen it a lot of times before. I don't think it needed that.
No.
But again, it just draws. You see her draw more strength from within. Speaking of her being really angry, and it alludes to the chance of her killing Namor. The cameo from Michael B. Jordan is really welcomed. It's a nice little twist because she expected to see. Obviously, it wouldn't have happened because I'm glad it happened because it's quite tasteful. But you don't see Chadwick as T'Challa. She don't see her dad either.
Or
and the only two, or a mum, because you expected her to see Angela Bassett's character.
Yeah.
But she sees Killmonger, like Eric, and it's absolutely gold. Like he's like riling her up, saying, "Do you want to take care of business? You got to kill him. He's wrecked you. He's smashed your home. You think you're hard, like, and he's like riling her up, type of thing. And it's done really well. And that's what would happen. That's the way Killmonger would react.
I think, for me personally, I think it's a shame she didn't kill Namor, because I felt it was a bit of a cop-out at the end, because I really thought she was going to go down the dark path, and I thought, this is interesting. And then when she didn't, she sacrificed, like, she allowed him to live. I was like, oh, it's boring. But then with I think it was a post-credit scene, where he's talking to...
Yeah, it's towards the end of the film, isn't it? He's talking to one of his lieutenants, like.
Yeah, basically saying, like, everyone's going to go against Wakanda now, and they're going to need an ally, so they're going to need us, so then we can, like, abuse that power of, of them needing us, sort of thing.
I think throughout the entire film, you don't even, like, I vaguely know Namor. Like, my comic knowledge is mostly DC, but, I know quite a bit about the Avengers. But Namor's like a mainstay in the Avengers universe, in the comic universe. He's in like the Illuminati. He's got his own kingdom, and he's a prick quite a lot, but he's still an Avenger. So throughout the entire film, I was thinking to myself, like, at the end, he's gonna have to have a bit of a face turn, or he's gonna have to be quite sympathetic, because further down the line, they're either gonna A, kill him, or B, he's gonna have to survive and not be that much of a dick, and then so they can keep him for other films and maybe a change throughout. So it was obviously spoilers, as we say, he survives.
Yeah.
But they're gonna have to do a lot of work for him to be a likable guy in the next couple if he's an Avenger, if he does become an Avenger.
I wouldn't say he's unlikable, because he's a villain, so you're supposed to dislike him, but I wouldn't have said him as a character or the guy that acts as him, like, they're not unlikable.
What you mean? Like, he can be likable.
Yeah, I like him. Like, I've got nothing against him.
I like him as well, but like even at the end, he's still. I thought he was going to say to him, the way it came across me, that scene you just referred to, was he's still got a heel attitude. He's still a bad guy attitude. He's like, oh, we're gonna, once they're in this shit, we'll help them, then use and abuse them.
No, yeah, I agree with you there.
I thought his attitude could have changed. Could have been like, look, there are people who have been for a bad time like us. We can unite, and they're not so different to us. We should play the game.
Yeah.
But to get back to my point with Shuri, is apparently they say, oh, she was a warrior. She was trained as a warrior, then she just chose to become a scientist because her brother was there. Her brother was the Black Panther. And I was like, but throughout the film, you don't see her train. She's not training. What I'm saying is, if you've got two people, if Batman fought Superman and Superman never had the powers, it gets slapped like it's. You don't all of a sudden take this magic herb and know how to fight. But it's. Apart from that, I like her design.
Yeah, her costume design was pretty cool.
I like her costume.
It was a little too gold for my liking though, because Black Panther, T'Challa's Black Panther was completely black with a little bit of grey or something there.
Yeah.
You know, a bit like Batman, black or either really, really dark grey. Whereas Shuri's Black Panther, there was just quite a bit of gold on there, and I was like, well, if you're running across rooftops or whatever, that's going to shine in the moonlight, that is.
What I would say is, to be fair, this could have been more of a non-spoilery point, but Shuri's interaction and the respect she gains off all of her peers and the elders is very well earned. Like, what I'm saying is, I like her as a character, and I'm not tamping, as the Welsh would say, or pissed off that she's the Black Panther now. It does make sense in a lot of the ways. Like, that's the way the film tailors it. But as an ensemble cast as well, the ensemble cast is gold. Winston Duke as M'Baku. He's like, he doesn't have like many hilarious bits, but they are amusing, don't get me wrong. Okoye is emotional, and she has some funny interactions when she goes to America, when she goes to MIT. The introduction to Riri Williams, the Ironheart character, is fun. And like, she has a lot of potential, and apparently she's getting her own TV show on Disney Plus.
Who is?
Ironheart, the character who makes her own little Iron Man suit.
Oh, God. The Iron Man suit. You mean the Power Ranger suit?
Yeah, it looks like a Beetleborg suit, to be fair, but
Yeah,
I don't think it looks that sleek. It looks quite clunky.
After seeing Namor with the wings on his ankles, I was like, wow, at least that's the worst thing that's probably going to happen. And then I saw the Power Ranger suits. I was like, oh,
I personally think it's an insult to Power Ranger suits, but it's because Power Ranger suits were badass like back in the day. R.I.P. Jason David Frank, so apparently he's died at the recording of this. That's the Green and White Ranger.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, indeed.
You can't say that and then I can go slagging off Power Rangers. Fuck's sake. I'm going to look like a right twat now.
No, like, I love Power Rangers, and, you know, his kids says he did look like a Power Ranger suit, but, you know, as much as I like the Power Rangers were created in 1993. Well, before then, 1992, I think. The action scene on the highway where Koi gets slapped is sick. Well, she doesn't get slapped, to be fair. She really holds her own against like 4 of their warriors or 3 of their warriors.
Who are invincible.
They were invincible, apparently, because she shanks them in the stomach and the chest, and they just like jumping off. It's not enough to take you out of the film, especially the enjoyment, because it is really enjoyable and it's emotional. But there's a lot of inconsistencies or things it just doesn't explain between these people just walking off stab wounds, which would kill most people.
Yeah.
Between, I don't know, why the Namor then gives up on killing Riri Williams. Like, admittedly, he thinks like he's blown her and Angela Bassett up with the bombs, but he doesn't. If it was me and I really wanted to kill someone, and that was my motivation throughout the film, I had a character, yeah, I'd then see him, like, you know, looking at the dead body.
Yeah, I want to see the lifeless corpse to make sure that my lifetime goal of killing this person because they're going to ruin my entire livelihood. I'm just going to make sure that they are actually dead.
Not just throw my glorified water bullets. That's apparently what it was. For what it's worth, again, like,
You're not wrong.
As action scenes go, the scene where the tsunami comes is gold.
Tsunami scene.
The tsunami scene. So when they attack Wakanda, Namor's people.
Yeah. I remember.
That's great. And that's a lot. That's, I don't know, it's epic to say the least.
Mm.
Another low-key biased thing to say is there's a few, like, obviously Letitia Wright's British. Between her and Michaela Cole, there's some good British performances in it, and Martin Freeman.
Yeah. So
that's a nice little thing. But on my patented rating, I don't know where Kieran sits on it, but I'd say recommend it to go see it at the cinema. I wouldn't say recommend it to see it twice at the cinema. I think it's good enough to see it at the cinema. I wouldn't wait for it to come on streaming, which it will be on. I imagine it'll be on.
Yeah, I feel like it's in between the two. Wait for streaming or go to the cinema to see it once. It's right in the middle there for me. I think there's some scenes that like you need to see it on the big screen, like to really warrant like just how epic the scale is. But then it's especially going to the cinema these days, it's quite pricey, and for a fact it's going to be on Disney Plus. In what 2-3 months.
Yeah, exactly. I reckon early January, February it'll be on there.
Yeah. To face it, if you wanted to see it, you would have seen it by now.
Yeah, you would have. Yeah. Quickly before we just go into another little topic for the show, another random. Again, like I said before, spoilers. One of its strengths is it's not too much of an MCU film. It's a very Wakandan film. It doesn't, all of a sudden there isn't Hulk in it or there isn't Captain America, Sam Wilson. But at the very end, the post-credit scene, just in case you're waiting for that, the post-credit scene of T'Challa Jr. and Lupita Nyong'o's character is quite a nice addition. It's quite, it's quite emotional. It's quite, I don't know, warming at the same time. But not like, I wouldn't, not like they need a push, but, for all credit due, they were talking about it on the Weekly Planet. And I wonder if, technically, obviously the T'Challa isn't dead in the comics and it's always a character. It's like a legacy character, it's not portrayed by an actor, it's spoilers, it's an actual comic, it's a piece of literature. But now, technically, they still have a T'Challa character who can be Black Panther.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is a wrong thing to say, but I'm glad the kid wasn't called Chadwick.
No, 120%. I think, it would take you out the film.
Too on the nose and too...
I think it would be too on the nose. I'm glad they, in a lot of cultures, it's not really a British thing to do unless it's, hundreds of years ago. You don't really get called, I say this ironically where my dad's called Dave and so is my granddad. But in our culture, you don't call you don't have a son and call him Junior or whatever. In America, maybe, or, But I think it makes sense for that film. I wonder if, 10 years down the line, not even 10 years, I wonder if there's some mad Marvel, scheme where it'd be a portal or where it'd be time travel. They recast this kid in, a couple of years, and he's, 18 and he's playing Black Panther.
I say it doesn't need to be the same kid. They can just be, so many years have passed or whatever.
Exactly. So, in the universe, that could happen. So, no, that was interesting. I wonder what happened there. But no, that was cool. Lupita Nyong'o's character, she's beautiful, she's charming, and she's really capable as well. So it was good to see her. I wonder if she's going to be in it more, as in, she's, I don't know, mother to the prince of Wakanda, technically. But there we are. That's our thoughts on Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Well, yeah, she should technically be the queen.
Yeah, she technically...
Because Shuri's not the queen. They didn't make Shuri the queen. Shuri was just Black Panther.
And Baku's the king now, apparently, he said, didn't he? Because, Shuri was like, I'm going to go backpacking, I'm going to have my gap year.
Gap year.
Gap year.
So that's a little bit on Black Panther.
10 pence, because it's more than 2 pence, is on Black Panther Wakanda Forever. We did mention on our last episode we was going to do Gotham Knights, but I think we collectively agreed that we wanted to talk about Black Panther more, and we can just quickly touch on Gotham Knights now, which we're going to do.
Fortunately, they're both superhero comic books, but they're just two different comic books.
Entire entities all together. I say this being a Batman fanboy, and I was very interested to see how the DC game would handle. This isn't a spoiler because the marketing of it, Gotham Knights, not the Batman film, Batman game. Bruce is dead in it, and how the Batman universe will handle it. It's a good game. On the story is mostly good. It doesn't fall too much. The 4 characters are fun.
Yeah, they've all got completely different play styles. It's not like a copy and paste and reskin or whatever. They've got different sort of mechanics and styles and stuff, so you really feel like you're playing as someone different, which is refreshing when you know. Sometimes you can get burnt out on a character and you're like, oh, actually, I can change to a completely different character and still play the same game and still enjoy myself.
Yeah, so I 120% believe in what you just said, agree with what you said, to the point where I actually thought myself when I had this thought, I was like, oh, I have to remember this for the podcast. If there's a lot of games now, a lot of story player games, where to flesh the game out and for you to play to get more hours out is, have a new game plus. Where a lot of games you do that, and the new game plus will be that the enemies just feel more spongier and like harder to kill when you've just got the skills you've had from end games, so you can use them to try and like kill them. Where Gotham Knights is one of the few games where you can do new game plus and it feels like you're playing not a different game, but it feels like very beneficial because I can presume, and like a lot of people do what I've done, you have your main character you play for your first time, which was mine, was Nightwing, and then you complete it. Then for your new game plus, you choose a different character, and like Kieran said, they are totally different.
Yeah, I played as Batgirl for my first playthrough because I wanted that Batman fight style, and then for my second playthrough I played I played a mix of them all really.
I've played all of them apart from Tim.
Yeah, Tim's very focused on like stealthy combat and stuff like that. But when you're playing with spoilers, when you're playing with Mikey, stealth isn't an option.
Go hard or go home, I'll say. But for what it's worth, like we like to say, like give out our little reviews, and obviously the review scale's a bit different for if you can't go see something in cinema when it's a game. I'd wait for a sale, and coincidentally, Kieran told me earlier on that it is on sale. Apparently, it's on the Black Friday sale. I can't tell you how much it is. I should have said, but
yeah, it won't show me how much it is because I've already purchased it, so I can't see the number. It just says purchased.
If it's 20 quid off and therefore it's 50 quid or 45 quid, I'd recommend it. You get your hours out.
I'd recommend it if you've got someone else to play it with.
Yes, even more so.
But if you can play with a friend, it makes it more fun. Like it's a good, like the map, the world they've created for Gotham is really good. Like you've touched on the story, like the story is actually really enjoyable. Like, I actually enjoyed all the cutscenes, especially like with Harley and then the Court of Owls. Like I enjoyed those cutscenes, and then obviously I won't go spoilers because we won't really go too in depth with this one, but when the final boss battle at the end, how all that came to transpire, I kind of had an idea that would happen from earlier on in the game. I was like, the Lazarus Pit, but yeah, so I won't say any more than that, but I enjoyed it. It didn't like ruin anything for me. So I'd, as you say, wait for it to go onto sale for sure. I said I'd buy Dying Light, I think, for like 25-30 quid. I think this one, I could maybe pay 40 quid, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's
given the fact that it's 65 quid brand new.
The ending's done quite tasteful. Some of the missions can be quite grindy, but at the same time,
yeah, it's a little samey, isn't it?
Can be a little samey, but that you think to yourself, the combat can be quite. I say this, I'm not like trust me, this game will have its own episode, but I very quickly touch and compare it to God of War Ragnarok, and for what it's worth, Gotham Knights doesn't stand a chance because God of War Ragnarok is incredible.
God of we'll have a little special mention a bit after that, yeah.
After that, but the fighting isn't, dare I say, like I say, totally not as in depth as that, but it's unbelievably fun for how simple it is. It's I don't know, it's quite simple, but to get a really good flow going, especially some of the harder levels, it's not. I wouldn't say it's hard to master, but you got to think about it. Like you got to take your time, like not rush into it. And what is cool is, like Kieran said, the co-op, especially like if apparently you can play as two of the same character. I don't know, like on your team. So me and Kieran both could have played Red Hood, or both could have played like Batgirl. I don't know why you would.
Yeah, I think we both played Nightwing at one point. I think you and him and I decided to go as him as well, just to see if it could be done.
Yeah, they are drastically different, like I said, and it leans into that. And there's some really good synergy in the co-op as well, where whether it'll be whether it be you did a team up takedowns, which aren't too dissimilar to the Batman Arkham Knight takedowns, which is one of them would grapple them, then the other one will like just drop kick them or whatever like that, something cool like that, and also like the interactions they'll have in the lore.
Yeah,
I say it's a solid story. It's an enjoyable story.
Yeah, you'd think, would it miss Batman too much? And like I say, it's some of the characters all have their own moments. Like they're not incredibly 4D, but for like what you're gonna think is for a game which has got to cover essentially 4 protagonists, it doesn't stretch itself too thin. It really does a good job to cover 4 protagonists.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I'd recommend it when it comes on sale. Like I really would.
Yeah, so it's a good fun game. But you've already slightly alluded to it already. So we'll do a proper episode on this once we completed the game. But God of War Ragnarok, very simply, is a fucking masterpiece. It is amazing.
Yeah, it's not reinventing the wheel because everybody thinks this, but there's a reason everybody thinks this. You play the game, and at this current moment in time, PlayStation-wise, I am living, and so is Kieran, because we've got both of them, living our best life in the sense that we have COD, which is a really good game in itself, and we've got God of War Ragnarok. We haven't really played COD and had a laugh on COD much, not to COD's detriment, just because of how good God of War is.
Yeah. I mean, if God of War was co-op, we'd be absolutely smashing that.
Kieran's played it a lot more than me. He hasn't completed it yet. How many hours do you think you've done?
When you save your file, it shows you exactly how many hours you've done, and I've done 28.
So Kieran's done 28 hours, and I think you've been doing a lot of side missions as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've really explored all the areas.
So I'm playing it in a similar fashion for 2 reasons. I really like to play a game like that, especially when it's that good, and also I feel like when we do get around to reviewing it, we can have more of a rounded opinion on it. Yeah. But just to give you, I don't know, a bit of a tease for a future episode, it won't be next week's episode or next time's episode purely just because, like I say...
Or maybe the week after.
Or maybe the week after. To its positive, we won't complete it by then. And we obviously want to talk about the narrative end and spoilers and stuff. But that will be coming up because it was great.
Yeah, it's a tough one between God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West of my game of the year.
It's the only PlayStation 5 games which have been really great this year. There's been other good PlayStation 5 games, like we've just mentioned, Gotham Knights, but if you want to talk great, that those are the ones which are great.
Well, not PlayStation, not like Sony specific, but like just gaming in general.
Just gaming in general, yeah, exactly.
But of the games I played, because I know a lot of people would say Elden Ring, but I haven't had the chance to play that yet. I'm waiting for it to come on sale, but it just doesn't want to do that.
That's this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed it as usual. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks.
We really appreciate it.
So if you can get yourself to the cinema and you can afford to go see Black Panther, do so. You will enjoy it. If not, don't worry, it'll be on Disney Plus within 3 months, I reckon. Gotham Knights again. If you got the money, wait for it to be on sale so you get a bit more for your buck. But that's a good fun game to play, and just narrative wise, if you enjoy the DC universe or Batman or whatever, give it a go. I know the reviews absolutely slated the shit out of it, and I think it was just because they got one bad review and then everyone jumped on that bandwagon. Plus, most reviewers play like an hour, 2 hours, and then review the game. You can't justify it in that way. So yeah, like playing the longevity of the game stuff, it is good. It is fun, especially when you play co-op.
I can see why it's had some negative reviews. Like there's some repetitiveness and there's certain elements.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop it being good. It's not a great game, but it's a good game.
Yeah. And then God of War Ragnarok, if you're going to spend full price on any game, it's that one.
Yeah. Obviously, like Kieran said, we will be having a more in-depth full episode about it. But if you're thinking to yourself, like I know a lot of people, and I don't blame them because, especially this time of year before Christmas, time's hard or whatever, if you're just going to buy like one game every couple of months, especially if you've got a PS4. If you've got a PS4, apparently it runs great still. But get God of War Ragnarok.
And for our PC friends, get God of War because that's now on PC.
Yeah, get God of War 2018. But no, thank you for listening as always. Share it with everybody you can. Share it with your nan. Tell her to listen to podcasts.
Yeah, get her into gaming.
Get into gaming. Play something with her. But no, thank you. It's greatly appreciated, and the more shares, the better. Don't forget we're on YouTube as well. However you want to listen to us.
So yeah, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Anchor, and other places. Oh no, I'm the one that uploads them all, but I can't remember. They're all the same to me.
But no, we shall see you in the next episode.
Yep, we'll catch you in the next one.
Have a good time.
Alright, bye.
Wakanda Forever.
Wakanda Forever.